Welcome to another episode of the Lightspeed Investing Podcast. Special edition here, coming to you live from my Miami studio. This is Shane. I'm so excited to have you on. This is the first time that I've actually done a podcast in my girlfriend's condo here. And
Cool.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to share with the people who you are, man. I've got Shane Seo here of Seo Capital. He is a sophisticated real estate investor who also manages a film fund as well as private equity. I don't think I've ever said those three words in the same sentence, man. So kudos to you. You obviously got some big things happening. That's why I decided to bring you on, because not only are we fellow Asian Americans, right? But you are a very successful business owner, and pretty much everything that you touch seems to turn to gold. I don't know if that's true, but that's my, I would say, impression of having known you and working with you. So Shane, why don't you share with the people who you are, where are you based out of right now, and what are the projects that you're working on?
Yeah. So my name is Shane Seo. I'm based here in Atlanta, Georgia. And then the things we're working on is exactly what Philip said, is I'm a real estate investor. For all those that know me more as a nerdy real estate investor. Second thing, I am the fund manager to a hybrid film fund that's backed by real estate. And then, of course, we're doing mergers and acquisitions, so more of a private equity side. And if you don't mind, Philip, the reason why it is strange to mention all three of those in one sentence is in the movie business is the only business that hires every type of business, hence the reason we're doing private equity. And then I believe that the best way to diversify and take out volatility out of those businesses is having a strong, sturdy foundation in real estate. So that's why I'm in that, Philip. And Philip, by the way, it's an honor to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm so excited to have you on, man. You are like a wealth of knowledge and wisdom that I just can't wait to tap into. But obviously, Shane, you did not start where you are right now, right? So what has your entrepreneurship journey been, and where did you get your humble beginnings from? Was it always in Atlanta, Georgia? Did you always start with real estate? Like how did you get into not only real estate, but then the film and the private equity stuff?
So my first whack at entrepreneurship was with a brown paper bag and M&Ms, peanut butter M&Ms, and then the chocolate M&Ms and Snickers. And I had them in a bag and I was selling them, and I was 4 years old at my dad's martial arts karate school or Taekwondo school. So I'd say I don't know if that counts, but technically speaking, that's the first time I'm walking around trying to sell something to people. But no, honestly, being half Asian, okay, you know how it is being a fellow, Asian American, is they want us to be doctors, lawyer, anything like that, or accountant. Something. And when I graduated high school, I went to be a doctor. I was going to, work on being that. And when I started job shadowing some doctors, they all told me, Shane, do not do this.
That's true.
Everything's separate than what my dad had said, because you just don't make the money that you think that you'll make. You're going to have your whole life in a hospital or in the doctor's office, and then you have a reputation to uphold, so you're going to spend all this money. And I remember I was in economics class, and I stood up and just walked out, and I said, I'm not going to be a doctor. And so my first whack at entrepreneurship was it was many years later. It was when I was 22. I opened up my first martial arts school, just following the steps of my father. So I'm going to open a martial arts school, and that's what I began in. So that was my first whack.
Wait, no, hold on. Did you complete college or did you drop out? Like, did you still do the whole pre-med thing? Oh, okay,
I dropped out when I was 19 years old, and I just helped at my dad's school. I did, believe it or not, I did face painting. I did birthday parties to Spider-Man. I just kind of did odd and end jobs like that until I was 22, and then I opened up my first Taekwondo school.
And this is all in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, that's another thing. Yeah, so I wasn't in Atlanta. I was in a smaller town called Albany, Georgia, when I was younger. And then 15 years old, we came to a place called Rome, Georgia, which is a small town, maybe like 25, 30,000 people. And that's where I opened up started doing face painting, balloon animals, and everything. My first school was in Somerville, Georgia, which is probably 5,000 people, 2 red lights big. That's it. And I opened up my first martial arts school.
And what did you learn from the martial arts school opening experience? I mean, it's an in-person brick and mortar, man. So that's a grind, dude.
It is. Honestly, I still say this to this day, that martial arts business is like, it's the answer to everything, because it taught me marketing, how to sell. Then I had to retain my clients on because it takes 4 years to get black belt. So I had to have the same clients come 2 to 3 times a week, keep the kids happy, the parents happy. And then it taught me how to pivot, because think about it. The kids in my class, some are there that they just want to have fun. Some don't want to be there. Their parents made them be there. Some parents want their kids in there for exercise. Some of them want them in there for confidence. You have this group in front of you that all have different types of things that they're trying to accomplish. And I have to teach one class with all of them at the same time, and retain them and motivate them and teach them life skills and things like that. So I think it taught me so much about business, really,
and so did you mainly engage on the business side, or were you also a practitioner of martial arts?
Everything. I was teaching, I was marketing, I made the flyers, I did the sales, I did everything. I ran everything about it. And it did teach me how to manage staff as I, got up, because I had to learn how to grow leaders and then good staff people and motivate them. And that's another business in its own, is the staff. Usually whenever you open a business, you have staff. It's not the business is not your business. It's the staff is your business. That's what I learned. Yeah.
So how big did you grow it to, and when was the transition point?
Okay. Yeah. Then the transition point was really this well, first of all, I grew that to 5 Taekwondo schools. So I really did scale, but
all within the state of Georgia, or
all within Georgia. Okay. All within Georgia, yeah. And then, but what really changed my life, Philip, was, hence the reason I'm more in real estate now, is when I was 25 years old, so I had Taekwondo schools for 3 years at this point, I was in a shopping center, and this guy bought the pizza place next to me, and he had his hair slicked back, and him and his wife had matching Cadillacs. I could tell he had a lot of money. And he came over, and I talked to him, and we kind of introduced ourselves. And I said, "Sir, what do you do? I know you bought this place, but what do you do?" And I took him to lunch. He explained real estate. He explained single family, multifamily, commercial, fix and flips, rentals. And it opened up my mind to what no one was telling me. He told me about good debt. He told me about like passive income, tax event. He really opened up my eyes. And that was the thing. That was the seed that he planted that ended up my whole real estate journey. So that's how I got introduced into real estate. 5 years later, I finally got my first deal. It took me 5 years because he bailed on me after that meeting. I never spoke to him again. And I didn't have a mentor. I had no peers because no one in my area was really doing real estate, maybe a few landlords here and there. And for 5 years, I tried to get my first deal. And I would say I got 33 properties under contract, and then I'd always cancel. So I made every real estate agent upset. And then I'm serious, man. It was awful. I know even some of them still hold a little bit of a grudge toward me now. But, then 5 years I got my first deal.
Don't tell my girlfriend that. We'll leave that part out.
Oh, really?
She's a business leader and real estate agent here in Miami.
Oh, well, you tell her, imagine a guy taking, and she's showing him 5 to 7 properties, get them under contract and cancel them and just waste their time.
God.
I wasn't trying to. I just didn't have enough, help. I didn't have anybody to coach me through it, and I was afraid.
Yeah. And while you were doing that, though, were you still building out the martial arts school and maintaining that business?
Yeah. So from 25 is when I was introduced to real estate. At 28, I retired out of it. I had great staff that were running the schools. Okay. I'm talking about from marketing to everything. And then for 2 years more, because I'd already tried to do real estate for 3, but for those 2, I really went heavy into it trying. And I was doing missionary work at that time too. But at age 30, I got my first deal, made my first $60,000. Well, I split it with a partner, so I made $30,000 off my first deal. After I got past the first deal, I realized it wasn't that tough, and then I leaned in on it. And then I ended up buying 60 houses the first year after I got the first home, 180 the second year. And I just kept scaling from there and went into multifamily, commercial, laundromats, cleaners, billboards, storage units, farms. So basically, I'm just really a nerdy real estate investor at that point. So that was my first big transition. So I'd say the Taekwondo did give me an I can do it attitude. It gave me confidence to learn to start business. And then the real estate was my intro into the investment world. And it has entrepreneur aspects to it, but it's more transitioning from entrepreneur to investor. So that was my big transition there.
Now, what's going on with the martial arts school? Is it still in existence? You just have operators handling it? Are you looking to grow it past the 5 locations?
Yeah, so we sold off 3 of them. We still have 2, one in Calhoun, Georgia, one in Rome, Georgia. We are the largest. We have the largest Taekwondo school in Northwest Georgia, which I'm very proud. I bought a Sears building. We teach gymnastics, Taekwondo, and jiu-jitsu. And I have great staff. Great students are there, and you have to come. I'll take you there,
dude. No, I mean it's dope, man. I was, Taekwondo was my first sport. I was a black belt by age 6, I believe, and then I was by age, So I started when I was 6 years old. I think I became a black belt when I was 8, and then I got my second degree when I was 9, and that's when I immigrated over to America. So I always joked that basketball ended up becoming my 3rd degree, because I was supposed to go back to Hong Kong to get tested and assessed for my black belt 3rd degree. But then I started playing American sports. I was running back in special teams in American football, soccer, and then obviously basketball, which I ultimately fell in love with.
That's so cool. I definitely want to learn from you about the sports team stuff too, because you were talking to me prior to this. I'm like, man, that's very interesting.
Oh yeah, dude. Hey man, if I'm looking on my journey of owning an NBA team for very competent business partners and investors who wants to accomplish big goals and big dreams. So yeah, man, definitely. That's why I'm so excited. To not only learn from you, but explore ways that we can partner up together. So So in regards to now, right? Okay, you had the Taekwondo background that gave you all the business and entrepreneurial backbone, so to speak, in terms of acumen, and now you transition to real estate. How did you then get into, as an investor now, the film credits as well as the private equity stuff? Which one came first?
Ooh, I would say it'd be the private equity stuff, the mergers and acquisition. Is because, and I guess I was buying real estate, of course, single family. Then we did multi. Then I started doing commercial, and I happened to buy 2 buildings that were, commercial buildings, and they had tenants in there. Well, not tenants. They were a cleaners business. So I paid cash, $1.1 million for both buildings and the business. And then I was like, I don't really want to run the cleaners. So I sold the business for $1 million. So we have $100,000 in just the buildings now for 2. And now we have the buildings, and we could hopefully sell them for like $2 million to $3 million is what we're trying to do. So I said, M&A goes really well with, real estate, and they go hand in hand very well. And in fact, Home Depot done something similar to that. These are fake numbers, but they would spend $5 million, for example. It's definitely more, but let's just for example, let's just say they spend $5 million on a building to build it out. Then they would convert it to a triple net lease, sell the building to an investor for, let's just, like I said, fake numbers, $10 million. And they're stuck paying a lease. But now Home Depot has $10 million, and they can duplicate it. You see, they can help them expand. So I was like, So I think M&A and the real estate went hand in hand. The movie business is I met some friends on set, and I started doing a few movies, just in the background. And I thought it was pretty neat. It was a great way to network, and we liked the experience. But everyone started pitching me movies, and I could not make any financial sense why you would invest into a movie. It's just you're 7th on the waterfall.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's really ridiculous. There's just no way I could make sense. So I'm walking in Beverly Hills with a friend, and I said, tell me, why do these investors invest in the movie if they don't make their money back? I mean, you do 10 movies, you'll lose on 7, break even on 2, and maybe make money.
And you may get one that's like a home run, right? But how many home runs do you have?
Yeah, and I was like, there's just I'm just not in that game for a movie, and I didn't understand it. So he went on to explain. He said, Shane, if you can make an investor break even, they'll invest with you forever because they get to do the red carpet and they just get these perks. And I said, man, it's like an expensive mastermind if you think at that point.
Basically.
So I started thinking, I said, well, how would how do insurance companies do it? They take people pay for insurance. The insurance company then they buy income producing real estate, or they lend out and stuff, right? They do investments with it. Someone dies, they pay out the policy with the income from the assets. So I came up with something similar. So basically the money comes into a fund. We allocate a portion toward real estate that if the movie goes to zero, it takes away some of the volatility. And if the movie does make money, they get some upside. So why not protect the investor, basically? It's just diversifying it a little bit. Hence the reason later on, I'm starting first with the film, secondly with the real estate, and in a couple of years, we'll add an M&A component to it as well.
Right.
Just merge it all together.
You remind me of one of my mentors is Grant Cardone. I've been with him since like 2017, and he's doing this hybrid real estate fund with Bitcoin, where he's basically offsetting the volatility of Bitcoin with real estate. But you, my friend, in a very unique way, because he's on the East Coast, where I'm at, but on the West Coast, you're kind of doing it with a similar concept, but a different asset class, which is with films. For the volatility backed by the stability of real estate, right? In terms of percentages, what are we looking at, and how long? How long is the runway, and then what is the barrier to entry, right? Like, what are these investors putting in, minimally speaking? Well,
actually, it's fun. I'm going to cover one thing you just touched on. Is funny enough, you said Grant Cardone. Whenever I thought of the idea and came up with it, I flew to Miami and sat down with Grant for an hour to speak about it. And I explained it because I couldn't understand how he could, buy multifamily, buy Bitcoin. What if Bitcoin went to zero? How are the investors protected?
I see.
So I did talk to him, and I even got the attorney's contacts that he uses. And I did structure it a little bit differently, by the way. So there's two different components to the hybrid film fund. Is there's a return based upon whatever the real estate makes, right? And the real estate part for there is usually about a 6% fixed return, not preferred return. It's a fixed return on that.
Yeah.
That's how we structure it. Then the upside on the movie depends on how we do it. If we're doing our own slate, if we're co-financing, or if we're just going to do debt against certain people's films where we have collateral, just like a hard money loan. Each one of those have different bets. But usually the standard, I'm just going to say the standard here for each film, depending on how we get it, is usually you get 120% return. So you get a 20% return on your money. Like, so if you spend $100,000, you're going to get 20 grand back. And then there's a split above that, and it depends on the film. So I can't tell you specifically because it depends on, which
the 6% on the real estate, is that an annual, I'm guessing?
An annual, yes, not monthly.
Annual. And of that, in that hybrid fund, what is your distribution time frame? Is it quarterly, monthly?
We pay out twice a year. There's some that want like monthly in my real estate, because I do have a real estate fund, or I have two of them actually. Right. And we always pay biannual, but there's some that want it, and I have the option if they want to get paid monthly. And I think Grant started that by saying, we're going to pay you monthly, and that's okay. But for most of them, they're just wanting to place this part of their money. So we pay out twice a year, February 28th and August 31st.
Gotcha. And in regards to the film, do you also, if you are an investor in film funds, do you get the benefits of film credits? Because that's one of the tax benefits
they get the tax
that I understand.
Well, we're negotiating for the tax credit portion collectively on that portion. But yes, they get the last year they had something called a Section 181, right? Now it's a 168, and that really depends. Now, this one's a new thing that just came out, so I don't know if it's in the year in which you make the movie or when it premieres. But based upon whatever that is, we'll have to talk to an accountant. That's when you get you can fully depreciate that portion, which is crazy.
Oh, that's awesome.
So in real estate, if you invest $1 million, you can't write off the $1 million. You can only take the depreciation on the property, divided amongst the time. On the movie, you can invest $1 million and write it off potentially. Again, I'm not an accountant. We'll have to talk to an accountant, and that's a new rule. But I don't know if it's the year of that you give it, or if it's the year when it premieres. We have to check that out. It's a new ruling.
Now, I don't know if I caught this, but when you first got started in real estate, you had noticed a gentleman, right, that purchased a pizza place, right? And he was generous enough to give you mentorship when you guys went out to lunch?
For
Are
one
you
day.
still in for one day? Was that the only mentorship that you got from him? Is he still someone that you're in contact with? And also, how does mentorship apply from that sense, right, to you when it comes to becoming more and more successful within the private equity and the film hybrid fund arena?
Amazing question. So I've lived the experience of what it feels like to not have a mentor, and then how important a mentor is. Because I always heard you need a mentor. You always hear that, and you kind of brush off like, oh, I've heard that. And like, oh, they're just coaches and stuff.
Yeah.
That gentleman that I met at the pizza place met with me one time and then ghosted me. So he did plant a seed. I'm very happy about that. He never talked to me again.
Really?
I don't know.
Interesting.
And he moved the pizza joint to a different place. He just never spoke to me again. Hence the reason it took me 5 years to get a deal, because I wasn't smart enough to find a mentor, and I didn't know anyone. And anyone that I knew that was doing it wouldn't give me any time. And that's why it took me so long to get started. So once I did get started and then I started growing, I was laying back and I said, man, if I would have had someone literally be there for me, like of that level, where would I have been? Those 5 years, those 33 deals, what happens if I would have got them? So funny enough, the very first time I ever paid for any mentorship was Grant Cardone. I paid $100,000 for 4 hours to talk to him. And you could do it together or individually. So I chose to do it 4 separate ones. I met with him the first time. He told me one great thing of advice, and he made one phone call from me, one phone call for me. And it got my foot in the door for a very special time. I made $888,000 within 3 months from talking to him. And the property that he specifically gave me mentorship on went from $2.5 million of value to $5.7 million of value because of Grant.
That's amazing.
So then I said, you know what? If that's just that little bit on Grant, I know it looks like a dumb person to pay $100,000 to sit down with someone, but look what it made me. I leaned in on it, and I've met some amazing billionaires. I don't go to millionaires much anymore. I go to billionaires.
Right. Yep, that's right.
Just to be honest, like you, like yourself, like you. Yep. Usually people in about 100 million and under, they give you something, you got to take it with a grain of salt. You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
I learned the billionaires are the ones that are really going after it. So, I've spent millions, like more than I think we calculated $1,800,000 in the last 3 years in mentorships.
That's awesome, man.
And learning, and it has escalated me so much more. So yes, you got to pay to play, but it's the quick way to get started. Unless you
just to share with you a little wisdom point that I love to practice myself. I try my best to rack up my business write-offs to where my AGI is always negative because of mentorship. Like, no matter how much I make, I'm like, how can I spend more on that so my AGI at the end of the day is reflected as negative and I don't have to pay any taxes? That's my tax loophole right there. Yeah. But dude, that's awesome that we share, I would say, the same blessings and have received, in different ways from Grant. I mean, myself, I've been part of his community since 2017. And if I wasn't part of that community, would have never met my business partner now, who introduced me to the hedge fund world. And of course, ultimately allowed me to become president and CEO of a private investment firm. Right. And that's when, the moment that I realized, I was like, my dreams of owning an NBA team is no longer dreams. Like, I actually have a pathway for it to manifest into reality. And guess what? Lo and behold, I'm in a Miami condo that directly oversees and overlooks the Miami Heat Stadium right there. Right, awesome. I'm like on this 50th condo, and it's just amazing. I'm only been in business really for 4 years. This is the start of my 4th year, man, senior year, so to speak.
Well, congrats! You're young, man. 33 years old. I mean, you're killing it. You're beating me. That's awesome.
Well, hey, so for the people listening, right? We talked about the importance of mentorship. And your continual focus, right, on acquiring those. Are you also offering mentorship, right? Is that something that you're passionate about, to give back to those listening?
Oh yeah, 100%. In fact, our company here is called Good Investors. So, and our slogan is that good investor is always learning. Whenever I meet a know-it-all, you know how to see you're learning from me. I'm learning from you. I'm going to learn some private equity stuff from you and the MBAs. I'm fascinated and want to learn. When you meet that person that just says, they're hard, like, I'm a Christian, right? And there's the hardest person to save is someone who is so-called a Christian, because they just won't open up their mind. You can usually save a sinner than you can a Christian, right? Same thing with entrepreneurs. Sometimes they're just know-it-alls. They're stuck in their own. They stop getting to the point where they want to learn.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. 3 years ago, I did not want to do any personal branding. I didn't want to do any mentorship, not because I don't want to help. It's because I'm introverted and I'm working in my business, trying to do what I enjoy doing, and it's fun, and I'm trying to do impactful things. And if money comes out of it, so be it. But yeah, I mean, I guess I want to give back just like that guy did for me. He took one day, it changed my life. He does. Yeah. I can't get in touch with him.
I don't know why, man. That's really weird. Hey, if you don't mind me being direct, I don't know, because right in a negotiation table, here's what I've learned, right? Like it's kind of like the FBI, CIA model. You want to enter the scene where initially you start off across from each other, but the best negotiators and deal makers at the end of the day find themselves sitting on the same side of the table. Now, the reason why you're able to do that is because you're able to offer value to where the person, and this is key, right? And I hope this is true, when that person receives a phone call from you or a text, they smile. See, it's one thing to have someone's contacts after you met them at an event, but it's another for them to get ecstatic and excited. So you being a young kid, I don't know if at that time you had enough value to offer him, and he was like, I poured my heart out, but I don't know what this kid's going to be able to bring back. But it's just so weird though. I'm just saying, I'm just speculating.
Well,
life could have happened, but that could be it, right? You were just too much of a little shit, and he was like, not worth my time anymore.
Yeah, well, actually, I've never actually said this publicly, but another thing that I think may be the reason he ghosted me was because he was trying to pitch me a crappy property on a young kid, is what I think it was.
Okay.
That's what I think it was. But yeah, I agree. And honestly, I had no value to give. I was asking, not giving any value.
Yeah.
He never talked to me again after that. So for that reason, I started hosting not just our own conferences, real estate conferences. We had 400 or 500 people here in Atlanta. We also host a business pivot. We call it the Pivot Business Summit, which is entrepreneurs and like more private equity type. We also host an AFA Summit, which is American Film Association.
Right.
For example, just on the American Film Association conference that we have, 2 movies. We are touched to 1, but out of that conference, 2 movies were made because we facilitated that event and gave people a place to do that. So I like to do things that have impact and give great value. Just what you said. That's what I was like, amen, brother, right?
Yeah.
If I do impactful things that give value, eventually I may make something. In fact, I tell everyone, we're here to find partners. Maybe you won't partner with us, but you'll talk good about us. And at least we're here to kind of learn off each other. But that's the whole point of facilitating those events.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, so we do have like our own little guy. We don't want to call it like we say mastermind, but that's kind of what it is, but it's not that at the same time. We wanted something for the elite people that they can come be in something. We have a community and stuff. We do free workshops 2-3 times a month, free. Like that, because we're here to find partners, not click here, pay this, buy this course.
Free workshops on what? Let's just so we have clarity.
Real estate, the American Film Association, we talk about pitching deals. We do a little bit on personal. It's completely for free in different cities. I'm doing some in LA, Las Vegas soon. We're going to do one in Miami soon, Orlando, and definitely here in Atlanta.
Dude, let me know about the Miami one, man. Hey, I'm always learning. Look, as you know, I'm building a luxury assets division. But dude, if I can support you in any way, I didn't know you offer free workshops, man. You have to be a learning machine. I'll take you up on that complimentary invite if
absolutely. No, does that mean that I don't charge for if someone wants to take my time, and I do have kind of I call it private client as well. If someone wants me to come, like one boy, he came in, 21 years old. I said, well, if I'm going to take my time, we got him $8 million of property. Another guy came in, we got him $3 million of property in 8 months. So we work with it. But I'd rather people not do that. Fun enough. I'd rather them come and learn, put into action, because what if I die? Now they're dependent upon me. They can't be independent. So yeah, but we love it. I want to feel like I can make 1 million people be wealthy and have legacy, but it means I have to touch 100 million people.
That's right.
To help 1 million, because 1% will do it. So
I love it. I love it because you share, my friend, the exact parallel in terms of why we do what we do, except ours isn't in real estate, right? We're here to democratize access to the hedge fund and futures and commodities trading space. Because unlike fellow fund managers who are super obsessed about growing their fund and AUM numbers, not only do we make money live in front of our audience, but we also are passionate about teaching and imparting a high income skill set. So just like you said, if anything happens to us, they can do it on their own.
There you go.
It's so important.
People mind me saying, because there's something you said earlier, and I'm no way trying to coach you or mentor you on it, but it's just, I have a little bit different take on one thing. You said that you spend all your money down to pay no taxes. So I believe that, first of all, there's 3 levels. There's those that live off active income. They make money and pay their bills. Then you got the guys, and this is big real estate people. They make all this money to live passive income. And then you got the big boys. They don't live off active. They don't live off passive income. They don't care about income. They only care about net worth. And then they borrow and live off of that, right? So having said that, in order to go from active and passive to the big boy thing, because I used to do that. I noticed most entrepreneurs spend all their money to pay no in tax, because you get taxed on after you invest in your business, right? I have a different take. I want to show as much as humanly possible on income and just do the correct thing. Black and white, not in the gray area. I'm talking black and white. This is business expense, spend it. This is actually personal, and this is business. I separate it well. And I claim as much as I really should. And then what I do is I buy real estate for tax advantages to depreciate it mainly.
Right.
But real estate sometimes that we buy is not for cash flow, it's for tax advantage. And
That's
then
right.
The income that comes from the businesses, I buy more real estate, and then I can borrow and live off of that. So that's just me. So that's one thing that how I live. I'd love to hear the private equity side. Hence the reason real estate will make you a millionaire. Private equity will make you a billionaire. Hence the reason I need to learn that from you, to learn that big part there, so I can get more in debt, and good debt.
No, listen, those are all great points. And I'm very aware of what you're saying. It's just, for me, it's about the right assets to get into, right? So that's why, for me, I'm super passionate, more so on luxury timepieces, handbags, and exotic cars, right, before the real estate thing. But it is definitely going to be part of my portfolio in the future. We also, just so you know, invest into offshore tax strategies. So in case you were not aware, right, Dubai is between 0 to 5%. Singapore and India, you're looking at 12.5%. And Ireland, Ireland should be 12.5%, and then I think Singapore is 20%. But yeah, we also engage in those offshore tax advantages, as a firm, right? But dude, I'm just a baby. I always tell people I'm a baby CEO. Right? I'm always learning. These are the things that I've shared with you are just strategies that I've learned thus far that I know works, right? And similar to what you mentioned, right? I'm open. But I gotta really be able to see that it works well before I take those next steps, right? But dude, kudos to you, man, Mr. Introvert, okay, Mr. No Personal Branding, being on my podcast and having a great conversation with me. But that is the crux of entrepreneurship. It's very character building. You got to go through different ceilings. You got to be willing to look in the mirror and face the demons, right? What are you great at? What are you not so great at? And how can you improve? Shane, it's been an honor having you on, man. I'm excited to continue to bringing you back so that we can have more of these conversations. For the people listening in, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you? And what is the next event that you will be hosting?
Oh, yeah. So you can find me on all the social media, since I'm learning this personal branding, as Philip said, from Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I'm really building my YouTube. In fact, on my YouTube, I talk about how we do some of our creative strategies to not only get into real estate, but even for the advanced people, how they can really scale. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I don't use Snapchat much or X much, and I'm not as good at LinkedIn. I've got to learn that. Philip's going to help me with that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll be posting all the events. Like I said, we're going to go all around the country, and we're going to go international. We're going to Australia soon. And we do free workshops. We're here to meet people, find our future partners. As what our mutual mentor says, me and Philip, is the next $1 million idea is in someone else's mind. So you want to meet as many people as you can. And I love to stay in touch with you guys. Philip, thanks for having me on, man. It was fun.
Absolutely. We'll do it again, and I will see you in person in Beverly Hills next weekend, my friend. We got a little secret get up
there, man.
that I'm super excited about, man. It's been too long, my friend.
Let's do it, man. See you there.
All right. Hey, thanks so much, Shane, and I appreciate you. Take care now.
All right. See you, man.